And here we go. Nec amplius extanta pecunia. So, extanta is from so much. Tantalus is diminutive, usually means smaller. Tantal usually means such an amount. Pecunia is money. Nec amplius, not more, quam, than C and 30. So 130 talents superfluented, which was left remaining. Addio, adverb, to such an extent. Illi exercitus. Here's a nominative. We've got a noun and a demonstrative noun. Illi's that. So, to such an extent that army, to so many, divitissimarum gentium. It's a double genitive. This is a superlative. So, the most richest of nations are victor. Okay? So, this army, taking in our position the victor, was a victor over so many of these rich nations, addio, to such an extent, tamen, nevertheless, plus victoria, more of a victory, quam, than praetor, another genitive, of booty, deportavited ex Asia. So this army, the victor over so many races, it deported or took away with it, nevertheless, more victory than of the booty from Asia. That's to such an extent. Ceterum, but, ut, cognitum est, it's impersonal, as it was known, alios, which means some, it's in a plural accusative, some were remitted home, they were sent home, mittai is sent, domos is accusative, so they were sent there, alias, alias, so some were sent home, and alios, others, were retained. Perpetuum eum, this would be Alexander the eum, perpetual regni sedem in Asia habiturum rati. So rati is thinking, so these alios, some were sent home and some were retained, but these soldiers, cognitum est as it was known, they were thinking that Alexander, he would habiturum, so he would have in future his seat regni of the kingdom perpetually, just means continuously or into the future, in Asia. And vacords means with a madness or frenzy, it's in plural form. And disciplinae militaris in memores, so not thinking of, not being mindful of discipline military. So you take that as a double genitive, and not being mindful of military discipline. Sediosus vocibus, these are genitive ablatives. Complant castra, so that's like complant. They were filling the camp, the castra, with these ablatives, with seditious words. Vocibus means voicings or words. Regamque, and the king, ferocious. That's comparative, more ferocious, quam, than alias, adorte omnes. So all were adorte, attacking or assailing their regem, the king, more ferocious than alias at other times. Simul, at the same time, missionem postulare coperant. Coperant means they began, takes the infinitive, they began to postulate, they began to demand. Missionem, it's like they're a mission where they get sent free from the military life. They wanted to be dismissed. Deformia ora cicitribus, ablative. Qui means and the canatium capitum ostentes. Here's our present participle. So these people, omnes, all of them, were ostentating. They were showing, demonstrating, pointing out the deformities, the deformed faces with scars. Cicatrixes are scars. And they, in their heads, which have grown canatum, which is white or greyish. Nec aut praefectorium castigatione. So neither by castigation, which is it's an English word, castigate, to choose someone out, by the castigations of their prefects, which is their officers, or we have aut and aut, or with veracundia, which is a shame or a modesty or a respect, regis, of the king, deterri. This is plural, so neither were they deterred, either by castigations of the prefects or out of their respect for the king. A clamor tumultuoso. So by a clamor, by a big, it's like shouting and noising, and it's tumultuous, so it's a bit of confusion. And militare violentia, and by military violence, you could say. The volentem loqui inhibibant. So this is them again. They were deterred, not deterred, nec deterred. And here they were inhibibant, which means they interrupted or they checked the present participle of Alexander, who was wanting, volentem in the accusative, and the infinitive loqui to speak. So they stopped the King Alexander, who was wanting to speak. And parlem, which is an adverb for openly. Nusquam is another variant of an adverb, meaning never. Professi, so openly they profess that never, inde, then, or thenceforth. We've got three adverbs here. Nisi, unless or except. In patrium, in with the accusative. So towards their fatherland, their homeland. Vestigum esse moturis. So they profess something, going into orati oblique, taking an infinitive. They would openly they profess they would never moturis be moved in day thenceforth, unless it was in the vestigiums, which is like the foot tracks, towards their homeland. Tandem, at last. Silentio facto, with silence made. Facto means it's done. Margus quia, more because. Motum esse credibant. Credibant is imperfect, means they were believing more than. So there was a silence made more because they believed esse motum, that this would be Alexander being moved. Quam, then, quia, because. Poterant, they were able, ipsi, themselves, to be moved. So they made a silence because they thought that now they'd influenced Alexander, or they believed they had, more than themselves would be moved. Quidnam is just quid with emphasis. The nam's just added there for a bit of extra oomph. Acturus asset, expectabant. So they made a silence because they thought he'd been moved, and expectabant, they were waiting to see quidnam, what? Acturus asset, what he would have done, what he was going to do. Illy, Alexander, inquit, was saying, quid haec, what are these things? Repens consternatio, this sudden, so repens isn't creeping, it means sudden or fresh. Constertino, which is this disturbance. What are these sudden disturbances? Well, the sudden disturbance is singular, haec is means plural things. And we have an et continuing, and so procax. Atquis, another word for and. So what's this sudden disturbance? And procax is insolent, insubordinate, and effusa is mad or furious. Licentia's licensedness, basically, and denuntiate. So what is this sudden disturbance and stubbornness and all this rioting? What does it mean? What does it denounce? What does it announce, to be a better English words? What does all this license mean? Eloqui metwo. Here Alexander saying, I fear to speak, from where we get the word eloquent. So parlem, openly. Inserte, curtes, certainly, openly. Ruptis, that's for the plural third person. You have broken imperium, his control, his authority. And precario rexum. Rexum means I'm a king. Precario is a dative ablative, so precariously, or by your favour I'm a king, or it's uncertain how I'm going to be king, basically. Cui is the dative of the demonstrative pram. To who? Non adloquendi. We have gerund of addressing, not by addressing. Non noscendi, not in getting to know. We have the enclitic qui, and monendi, and advising, and intuendo, of gazing or watching over. Vos jus reliquistic. So, certainly openly you've broken my control, my power. Reliquisti, you have left me the right. I think this is a negative. Here there's the non. To who? Non. You have not left the right of speaking, of getting to know things and advising you, and at actually looking at vos, you. Equidem. This is the version of quidem, usually 90% of the time used for the first person singular. Okay, so even cum, when, alios, some, dimitterae were dismissed in patrium, back to the homeland, and alios, mecum, with me, paulo post, deportares statuarum. So cum's taking the subjective here. So when I decided to dismiss some back to the homeland, and Paulo post a little after, he decided to keep others with him. So illos ad clamantes, present participle, video. I see those people so ad clamantes, shouting or kicking up a stink, qui, who, abituri sunt, that's a future, and it's plural because it's got the I there, so they're about to go away. Ab eo is a irregular verb which goes ire in the infinitive. So those who are about to go away, quam, as, hos, these. So tam illos is those, and hos are these. Cum quibus, with who, premissos subsequi statui. I have decided, statui, with those who have decided subsequi to follow the premissos, those who are sent in advance. So what he's saying here is that the same people who are shouting here, he's sent away as for the people who he was sending on with the others, micum with himself. Quid hoc est re? What is this thing? What is the matter? Dispare in causa, idem omnium clamor est. So disparate means different in causa, in the cause, so they are different in their causes or reasonings, but likewise, idem, the clamor is omnium. So the shouting is of all of them, even though they have disparate reasons. Per vellum, subjunctive. So I should like to know, per just means stronger, so per vellum I should like, scary to know, utrum, whether, qui, those, discussant, who are leaving, and, or, qui, those, retanator, those who are being retained, de, me, concerning me, those who are being retained with me, quoranta, are complaining, de is about me. So he wants to know whether those who are leaving or those who he's retaining are complaining, de me, about himself. Creedores, you would believe, uno ore, with one mouth, with one voice, all together, omnes, all, sustulici, clamorem. They had all raised sustuli, this clamor, this shouting. Ita thus, parita, so equally, ex tota contione, from the whole assembly, responsum est, the response was, omnes, again we have omnes, so all of them lifted this shout, and omnes, all of them were complaining in this responsum est, in this response. Tum illi, then the former, then Alexander, inquidid he said, not by Hercules, potest is able, fieri to be, ut as aducar, which is himself. So I'm not able to be led, so by Hercules, I'm not able to be, that I should be led, simul at the same time, omnibus to all of you, querendi, are complaining, that's another gerund form, hanc causam esse, is for this reason, hanc causam, this cause, this reason. Quam, which, ostendis, which you are showing. In qua, in which, major pars exercitus non est, in which the major part of the army, exercitus is the fourth declension, which the major part of the army is not doing this. Ut pot, inasmuch, it's an adverb, or conjunction here, inasmuch as cum plures de miserum, as when I have dismissed plures, which is most of them, more, plures quam, than retenturus sum, which I'm going to retain. Quando enem, regem universis deservit exercitus, question. So, for is the enem, when, it's quando, when does universis exercitus, which is the whole army, the army universally, when does it deserve it? Remember, an army is made up of a group of people, but it's actually a singular noun. So when there's a whole universal army desert, it's regem, it's king. Ne quidam, not even servi, this is the nominative for slaves plural, so not even slaves, uno grege, in one group, profugiant their dominos. So not even slaves profugi, they flee dominos, they flee their masters. It's not ablative fleeing from the masters, just as they don't flee masters in one flock, uno grego. Said, but, est, it is, quidam, it is indeed, or it is even, in illos, in they plural, in those people, a pudor, a shame, that's another nominative. But there is a certain shame in those, a ceteris destituitos reliquinqui. That's another gerund. So in the leaving, or by of the leaving, a ceteris from the rest of them destitute. So they leave the others abandoned. There's a shame when they run off like that. And we'll have a daily dictionary word. Destitutus, adjective. Destitute, disappointed, childless, abandoned, left alone, forsaken. Okay, where were we? Virum, but, ego, I, tem, furiose, consternationis oblitus. So oblitus goes with ego, I, it's nominative, it's past passive, so I am forgetful. So I am forgetful of such furiosities of troubles, so such madness of the troubles. And a remedia insanabilibus conor adhibere. So conor means I'm trying, adhibere to apply, a remedy to, this must be dative, to the insanable, which sano means healthy, so insane means unhealthy, insane. Omnem in the accusative, so all, Hercules, by Hercules, spem, so omnem and spem go together, so all hope by Hercules, quam which, ex vobis, from you, conceperum, which I took from you, all this hope which I had from you, damno, I spurn you, I condemn it. Nec ut cum militibus meus, not as with meus militibus, with my soldiers, this cum is the preposition, Yam enim esse desistis. Enim means for, yam's now, you have desisted, you have ceased being my soldiers, basically. But, ut as cum with ingratissimus, that's the superlative, operis agere decrevi. So he's not going to treat them as his soldiers, they've ceased being soldiers, but now as the most ungrateful people, agere doing operis, his works, decrevi. So he's like going to treat them as if he's just their hired hands who are ungrateful. Secundus rebus, in favourable circumstances or in favourable matters, quae, which, circumfluit vos, which they flow around you, insaneri coeptus, you have become to be insane or crazy. Oblitai, in the plural, you have forgotten, status eos, the state of which, quam, which, beneficio meo, by my kindness, exuistis, you have shaken off, you've forgetful of these kindness which you've forgotten of the state which you have left by my kindness. I might make that a daily dictionary word. Digni, you are worthy, Hercule by Hercules, qui in eodem consent escatus, so who are in the same growing of old together, con means together, so you're all growing old together. Quoniam, since facilius est, comparative, so it's more easier, vobis to you, adversam quam secundum regere fortunu. So it's easier for you, regere, to control yourself, to rule yourself in adverse fortune than in secundum, favourable circumstances. Okay, so exuo, extract, take off, free, take off, shed off, or refuse. That was the word of the day. And behold, tandem at last, iliorum, genitive, paulo ante, a little before, and Persarum, so of Iliorum and of the Persians, tributaris, Asia et tot gentium spolia fastidios sunt. So what he's saying is, behold, a little before you were paying tributaries, you were tributaries of the Iliums and the Persians, and fastidio means you basically had a hatred of Asia, and now you have the spoils, tot gentium, of all these races. So N, it's a interjection, means behold. Modo, could mean now, or it could mean merely, but now under Philip, semi-nudus amicula ex purpura sordent. So under Philip they had semi-nude amiculas, or little cloaks, and sordent, and now they think that the purple clothing is dirty, sordent, and aurum and argentium, which is gold and silver, the oculi, the eyes, non-possent, are not able to bear them. So they've gone from basically having nothing under Philip. Now they're not able to bear these purple cloaks and these gold and these silver with their eyes. Is that going? Yeah. So, modo sub Philip. Philip, they were basically nude and they didn't like purple, gold and silver to bear with their eyes. For lignia vases, for wooden bowls, the desiderant they were designed for longing, and for wicker work, scooters, shields, and rusty swords, or red from rust swords. Hoc coltu nitens vos accepi. So with this accoutrements, he accepted you nitens. So nitens is just the shining. So with these apparatuses shining, which were just wooden bowls and wicker shields, and D talenta, which is 500 talents, ares and alias, which is in the debt, cum omnis regius suppellex esset, and with all this regal furniture and other apparatus, hord amplius quam, not more than 60 talents. So, basically he inherited a debt. The entire treasury had 60 talents, and tentorum mox operum fundamenta, and of this all, mox was soon the fundamentum of the basements of all the operum, the works that he would do. Quibus tamen, by which Tamen nevertheless, invidia with his envy, was absent. Imperium maximum terrarum partis imposum. So he imposed his imperium on the greatest partis, maximum's the greatest, partis terrarum of the world.